All right, and welcome to week 6 of our of our NFL League Pick'em series. I'm sorry, I got confused with our convoluted league series. My name is Chris, and join with me is my patch review duo partner, but also my league Pick'em opponent, my friend Jason.
Hey, my friend, it is good to be back, and that is more than I can say than for Robert Saleh.
All right, it's a pretty interesting week. Let's start things off with our little mini preview. This week I went a underwhelming for me 7-7, but just a blip on Jason's radar
Oh,
for here. And then Jason defeated me this week by one game, getting into my lead a bit by one with a record of 8-6. And on the
yeah, you
season total, that brings us up to 48-30 for me and 45-33 for Jason.
you've got some swagger for somebody who was as good as a literal coin flip this week, Chrissy.
You know, I still think I'm happy with it. Could have
Yeah,
been
48
better.
and 30 though. That's pretty solid for how absolutely manic the NFL's been this year.
Let's just say the games I called wrong were way more contested than the games that you called wrong. Okay, first up we've got the Buccaneers and the Falcons, and I did watch this game because I'm a big fan of Kirk Cousins. This was an absolute one, definitely I think the most exciting game of this season so far. 500 passing yards by Kirk Cousins. This was such a crazy game. He made 76 fantasy points this game. It was
Oof.
so awesome. It went into overtime, went into the wire. It was an awesome game from Kirk. Uh, I think we both picked the Falcons to win this, because
We did.
you've been a believer of the Falcons now too the last couple of weeks.
I'm starting to be converted. Like, they every time they've looked good in the past, they've kind of struggled afterwards. But they look more like they're for real, at least on offense now.
Yeah, and that's not to
You know,
take
and,
in.
and yeah,
I'm sorry. Continue.
yeah. Like I think you were about to say, not to take anything away from the Bucks
Yeah,
offense either.
yeah.
They played very nicely. And just screwed up in the fourth, right?
Well, the overtime rules. They didn't get a possession. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Maybe they would have tied it again. Who knows? But it's a close game. Bucks defense was way better in this game. Kirk was on his ass like the whole game, but he still pulled through. Falcons defense was non-existent until like the fourth quarter, basically.
Yeah. Overall, just much more scoring in the NFL in Week 5 than we saw the first 4 weeks.
Anyway, let's scoot things around. We both called that. Next up, we've got the Jets against Minnesota. This was probably the most depressing game of the season for me personally. I am a big Aaron Rodgers fan. He did throw 3 picks in this game. One of them was a pick six. Even all that being said, the Jets defense showed up, and this was a very competitive game, and the Jets were definitely in a position to win this. But shit happens in London, and the Vikings improved to 5-0. We both did call the Vikings.
The
What are you gonna do?
Jets, good defense is not their problem. It's Aaron Rodgers. It's the lack of a good line. It's the lack of
Definitely.
a good running game. I mean, Brees Hall is kind of underwhelming.
Oh yeah.
Um, it's pretty much everything but Garrett Wilson, and even he is not performing nearly as well as you expected him to.
Actually, he had his best game of the season that game.
I'm talking just in general for this season, though. He hasn't been that impressive.
Yeah, you're right about that offensive line. It's wretched. It's just depressing. Next up, we've got
Yeah,
the
but,
buffoonish pick of the week. Jason
and
called the Panthers to win against the Bears in this one.
you saw that Robert Saleh got fired, right?
Oh no, I didn't see that. No,
Yeah, he's gone.
I thought
They
you were
fired
just
him.
implying he was on the hot seat or something.
Oh no, he's gone as of
Wow,
today, I believe.
wow,
Recording on Tuesday.
wow! I'm
Yeah,
surprised. Yeah, thought I'd get a little more leeway.
yeah, I would think so too. They've apparently had like really bad team stats in terms of both their offense and their defense compared to before he took over.
Yeah,
But I still think that he really took a team that was that was in tank mode, that was so horribly mismanaged by the Jets front office. Turned him around for a while, really got the players on board with playing for the team and for the man of Robert Saleh. And as much as I don't like the Jets, as much as I think it's hilarious that they're, throwing away the best thing they've had since Rex Ryan. I feel bad for him.
Well, sometimes firing a coach is just the kick in the pants a team needs. So, like, didn't that happen with the Dolphins with Mike
Well, I'm sure they'll
McDaniels?
have a
Didn't it?
bounce for like 2 games before their entire franchise collapses for the next 5 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, often like
maybe.
just like the having any type of change, a team like rallies for a couple games before they realize that like they're kind of like Wile E. Coyote, right? Like like every part of their car that was like going 60 miles an hour off the cliff has already like just flown off, and he's just like sitting in the air with the steering wheel.
Okay.
That's like what these NFL teams are sometimes after they make a big change.
Well, only time will tell, and there's plenty of games left in the season to get a good look at whoever's
Something to look forward to.
whoever's up to bat.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
It's hard to believe they can be too much more mediocre, to be honest. But
Oh, they can be a lot worse than mediocre once the wheels come off.
all right, well that's interesting news. I had not heard that yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, let's get back to your buffoonery. What happened with these
No, no,
Panthers?
no, no, no. I just used all the time talking about Robert Saleh. Let's move on to Baltimore, Cincinnati.
No, I'm sorry. This was a contested pick. We got to talk about it, man.
Okay.
I didn't expect the Bears to put up this many points, but I did expect them to crush the Panthers.
Yeah, I expected more from the Andy Dalton led, surprisingly good all of a sudden Carolina offense, but yeah, this was ugly. And admittedly, what was I thinking by taking the spice last week?
That's all right. Next up, we got another barn burner of a game. I didn't get to it wasn't in my area, but I did get to catch the end of this one. It also went into overtime and led to some hilarious fantasy numbers. Jamar Chase had like 47 points in my league as a receiver. That was
It's
pretty
often
ridiculous.
it's often the losing teams that actually have one or two players that put up ridiculous numbers.
Well, Lamar Jackson also had like 60 something points, and Burrow had like 5 touchdowns. It was a pretty crazy game,
Yeah,
pretty exciting.
what's your take on this? Did the right team win?
Yeah, we both picked Baltimore, which made sense, but it really was a toss up. It all just came down to a botched snap on a field goal in overtime, basically.
Yeah, you got to feel bad for Cincinnati.
Yep. All right, next up, we got another heartbreaker. We both picked Buffalo, and Buffalo just barely couldn't pull it out at the end. Real bummer. Bills are on a 2-game losing streak after opening up 3-0, and the Texans are right where everyone would hope they'd be at 4-1.
Yeah, Texans. I don't want to say they're a surprise. I think a lot of people, including myself, thought they'd be very good coming into the season. But after a couple kind of rough weeks at the beginning, I mean, really, like I think all of their wins this season, except maybe one, have been 3 4 point wins. I think there was a 2 point win. That they've been winning close games and not looking that strong. Beating Buffalo, by any amount is very impressive. I still think Buffalo is one of the best teams in the league. I was saying for the last couple weeks, I thought they were the best. You can't really say that anymore after 2 losses in a row.
Yeah. Then next up, and I picked them to lose this. The Jaguars shake off their 10-game losing streak and beat the Joe Flacco Colts. I should have known better to pick against Joe Flacco.
Well, you didn't pick against Joe Flacco.
Oh. Yeah, no. Oh, no, I thought Joe Flacco was going to win. My bad. I picked Indianapolis. That's right. And you picked Jacksonville. Shockingly.
Yeah. Look, the Jags are a much better, team than the record indicates. They have the talent. They just need to put it together, and kind of easy to do that against Joe Flacco.
Yeah, it was a close game, though. I didn't get any clips of this one, but I know Joe got some serious points, and my uncle has him on his fantasy team. Next up, we got Toilet Bowl 5 with the Dolphins and the Patriots. Did you say you watched this game, or you only watched the end of it?
Yeah, so I was in a car for pretty much all of that game. So I got home, I turned on the TV, There was literally 1 second left on the clock. It turned to 0. I looked down at the score. I'm like, wait a minute, we won? That was pretty cool to see. I did look at some stories of this game, and apparently New England, if not for a missed penalty and a couple of just bad play calls, could have won this game. But Miami's defense played extremely well. Their special teams played extremely poorly. Gave away a lot of points and turnovers, actually, on things like punts, missed field goal. Miami could have won this by more if their special teams played well. But yeah, it was kind of the story of an injured team against a pretty poor team, and the injured team found a way to pull it off.
Yep, and
More
honestly,
than we could
for
say
all
for
the
San
things that's
Francisco.
went wrong, I think the Dolphins should be very grateful it'll be one game down from 500.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous to think the Dolphins could win the division and most certainly will be top two after everything that's gone wrong this year.
Yeah, is there any word on Tua's return, or is he just a goner?
No, they expect them to be back this season. It's there's no timetable yet, and it won't be for the next week. We know that for sure.
Mm.
But they expect them to be back, by mid to mid late season. If his head isn't feeling better, they're gonna give him all the time he needs. One of the really cool things about Mike McDaniel is he really cares about Tua. As a person, not just as a football player. And it's cool to see a relationship built like that.
Oh, God help him. Next
Yeah,
up.
Devin Chain got injured.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. My uncle has him. Yeah, I saw that.
It's like it's another one of those teams that's just like Wile E. Coyote, right? Just sitting on the air and trying not to look down because if he does, he's gonna fall to the ground. And yeah,
Wasn't it like right as Mostert came back from injury, too?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, next up. The Redskins just keep on charging forward. They defeat the Browns, whom the wheels has completely come off, and improved to 4-1, and are actually going to be a real thorn in the side of my Cowboys and the Eagles for the first time in like 15 years.
The $280 million bad attitude, no talent quarterback, who just has no character as a person on a bad organization, against the $9 million wonderful quarterback who has the greatest character you could ask for, who just makes intelligent plays, and is also on a bad organization. It was really cool to see, that difference showcased in this game.
Well, you can't compare their contracts. He's on a rookie contract, and also Dan Snyder's not the owner
Hey,
anymore, so
Cleveland could
things
have gone
might
for a
be.
rookie as well.
Yeah, I know what you mean. All right,
They
next
would have
up
played better
we've
than
got.
Deshaun Watson. Did you see the? There were a lot of people thinking, even the announcers thought that Deshaun Watson had just walked off, on fourth down, refusing to play the down, just pissed. I
No,
don't know if you saw any of that.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, look it up. But what some people are saying is that that wasn't actually the case, and that there were 12 men in the huddle. So that's why Deshaun was walking off. He had counted it and realized they were going to have to call timeout.
Usually the quarterback's not the one who leaves the field.
Right. It was a weird thing, but it was looking really, really bad. For just his character and his future in Cleveland. And this may not be the thing that ends up breaking the camel's back.
Yeah, there's some dark days ahead, and it's a shame because they've
Yeah,
been trending upward like the last 4 seasons.
yeah, and they, then they wound up saddled with Deshaun Watson.
Next up, we've got our third contested pick where the Broncos crush the Raiders and my new fantasy gem in the Broncos defense that I've been riding the last couple weeks, and they showed up.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say about this besides just what a surprise it was to me.
Yep, Broncos started out 0-2, and now they're on a 3-game winning streak, and that's exciting.
Yeah, good for Bo Nix. Like, it often takes rookies a while to get good. And to get there in a few games is very impressive.
Next up, we got probably the biggest upset of the week. The Jekyll and Hyde Cardinals managed to get the upset over the shockingly 2-3 49ers.
Yeah, the 49ers had some players back. Obviously, their most important tool, CMC, still gone. Um, what do you say about this? Like, the Dolphins won a game with more injury. Um, do we believe in the House of Cards now? Are they a good team?
I definitely still think the Niners are a good team, especially when all the parts come back. I
So
think
is it just that the Cardinals are actually really, really, really good?
here's the thing about the Cardinals. I think they have a
Yeah.
real low floor, but I think they have a real shocking like high ceiling. So I think they're probably masters of like the upset potential, but I definitely don't think they're consistent.
So do you think that they have the talent that if they could figure out the way to get it consistent, they'd be Super Bowl contenders or similar?
Maybe playoff, yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool to see. I remember, the last time they were really good was Kurt
Carson
Warner.
Palmer. Carson Palmer, man.
When was Carson?
Much more recent than Kurt Warner. Yeah. Larry Fitzgerald, Carson Palmer, man. They were real good for several years. It was
Well,
that
Larry
was
Fitzgerald was with Kurt.
he was also with Carson Palmer. If I know he played
Was
for like
Carson
20
right after
seasons.
Kurt?
Kurt's too long ago. You might be forgetting like a couple guys in between Kurt and Carson Palmer.
Yeah. I mean,
Carson
obviously that
Palmer
was,
only
the end of
retired.
Kurt's career.
Carson
But
Palmer only retired like 7 or 8 years ago.
man, how the time flies.
Kurt Warner played like 95 to like 2005 or something.
No, he was in the league, I think, longer than that. I think
Uh,
you're, I mean, maybe he was backing someone up in 95, but, their Super Bowl, I think, was 99. It was right before the Patriots. I think that was only like his second season.
Larry ain't that old. Because Larry was playing for a few years after Palmer retired.
Well, Larry played forever.
Yeah.
Larry was like, a mainstay in my entire, like, formative years.
Anyway,
Now he just does commercials for University of Arizona, Phoenix Online.
suffice to say, it wasn't that long ago. The Cardinals were pretty good.
Yeah. And then we've got Green Bay, LA Rams. We both had Green Bay for this game.
Yep, that's what it says. Yeah.
And I believe I made the specific prediction that Sean McVay would throw it away in the fourth quarter. How
I
did that
didn't
go?
watch. Well, I didn't watch the game, so you're gonna. Oh no, I did watch this game, but this was the one I was making dinner with my family,
Hmm.
so I can't. I know I wasn't paying attention super hard because it's going back and forth between the grills, so I missed out on a lot of plays. So you have to tell me how much you threw.
They were terrible in the first half. Defense played well in the second half, but Sean McVay basically found ways to keep giving away the ball. They scored one touchdown in the fourth quarter. They had one more chance to get it. And when they didn't, and they had to turn over on downs, Sean McVay gave this face where he was just showing so much relief. He was like, "Oh, thank you, God. I thought we were about to win that game." I've never seen so much relief on a coach's face after they lost.
You're such a hater.
It's
I
it's
st-
it's just mystifying to me.
Last season the Rams started off really slow too, and they ended up making the playoffs. So I think there's still some hope left in the Rams.
Do you need me to remind you what they did in the playoffs?
I don't remember who they played, but yeah, I'm sure they got
The
eliminated
Lions.
fast.
They handed them the game. They punted down I think 4 points with just over 2 minutes to go, basically guaranteeing that Detroit could just sit on the ball and end the game.
All right, man. You making this review section take a lot longer than normal. All right, next up, we've got the Giants in a big upset win over the Seahawks. And this probably wasn't as shocking as the 49ers game, but considering how down in the dumps the Giants are, it was kind of shocking.
Yeah, I mean, this really gives credence to that motto, "Any given Sunday"
Yep.
in the NFL. Everyone's so high on Seattle. New York, we were saying, possibly the worst team in the league, if not Carolina. And then Carolina got hot. We were saying, okay, it's definitely the Giants. And here's the Giants blowing out the Seahawks, which ended my survivor pool in week 5. 200 people, 199 people eliminated. One person walking away with $5,000. And it's unfortunately not me.
Oh, you really could have used that money, bro.
Yeah. Then we've
All
got,
right.
yeah.
Next up, we've got the Cowboys who played in Pittsburgh in a game that was delayed for an hour and a half and didn't start till like 9:45 that night. And then Chrissy of Little Faith picked the Steelers, and while it was an absolutely horrifically ugly, incompetent game for the most part played by the Cowboys, when it all mattered and it was all at the line in the last drive of the game, they put it together and they came out with the W.
You picked against the Cowboys in a game that they were going to win. Man,
I don't think
don't show your face in a Dallas stadium ever again.
I don't
They
think it
will
was a
execute.
foregone conclusion if you watch the game now. It was
I
pretty
was really
bad.
tired from the road trip.
It was it was a real ugly game, honestly. Like
And
Justin
then
Fields
finally,
played like crap, and honestly, they played like crap for the most part too. And yeah, this was the one I picked against, and you picked the Steelers. And then lastly, we have Chris's final boo boo of the week, where I picked the Saints, just praying that they'd finally get the upset over the now 5-0 Chiefs. And this was also a pretty one-sided game. I think the Saints had a real chance probably to win this for most of the game, and then the Chiefs just kind of pulled ahead towards the end. Wasn't very honestly an impressive game for the most part from the Chiefs, but doesn't really matter.
yeah. I honestly think that like any given play, like Kansas City was looking pretty good on 90% of them. They had some nasty mistakes in terms of just like a couple errant throws that went the other way. There was that one crazy return where the really big guy on New Orleans, people were trying to tackle him.
Oh, that was a
Um,
hilarious play, yeah. I
the
liked that.
offense, all the entire Chiefs offense was trying to tackle him. They just bounced off of him. Like a guy trying to like stand up to the Tiananmen Square tanks.
Okay.
Uh,
Nice.
yeah, this was that was such a funny play. Anyway,
It
like
was.
aside from a couple just like real miscues by Kansas City, they showed that they were just good enough on every other play that game to consistently beat New Orleans. And New Orleans, who was so hot at the beginning of the season, now 2-3, right?
They were 2-0 to start, yeah.
Yeah, now they're 2-3, I believe.
They are, yeah.
Yeah, this is rough. Then we got our prop bets. You got the Dolphins quarterback, whoever it was Tyler Huntley. Will score 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and lose.
How'd that work
Pretty sure
out?
none of those happened. And I had 3 teams combining for 10 or fewer points. I think the 3 lowest scores combined to 27 or 29 this week. So I was pretty
Suffice to
far off there,
say,
too.
yeah, none of them combined for less than 10.
All right. Well, we'll try to do better in week 6. So, to start it off, tell me about the first
Okay.
game.
All right. Now that we're done with our longest recap since we tell stories of our football origins in week 1, first up, we've got the 49ers on Thursday night going to the Seahawks. And both these teams just lost to inferior opponents last week, so it could make things kind of interesting because I still think Geno's got something left in the tank, and I don't think the Seahawks are done for it. I think they got a good chance to make the playoffs, but I can't call the 49ers to lose 2 in a row. That'd just be heresy.
So you're taking San Fran.
Yeah.
I think the Seahawks are going to bounce back. 49ers should be a good team, but it's just, for whatever reason, they have not looked smooth this year. Defense has been okay. Offense has just not been able to chain together a lot of first downs. I'm taking Seattle.
All right.
All right.
In our next London game, we've got Jacksonville and Chicago. And,
Suddenly interesting.
I don't think it's as interesting as you might think. I'm definitely going with the Hot Bears. Their defense has just been good all year, and Caleb Williams he's just ticking up like every week a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. I don't think he's hugely impressive, but he's definitely way better than he was the first 2 weeks. I'm not going with these Jaguars like you did last week. You can pick them again. I'm going with the Bears.
Yeah, Chicago may technically be the home team, but if this is an England game, I think it is. It
Yeah,
is.
I just said London. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Jacksonville doesn't really have any downside here. Granted, England is not as warm as Florida is in October, But I still like the high talent Jaguars over the very defensive Bears. I'm taking Jacksonville.
All right. Next we off. This one should be a barn burner. We have the Redskins going to Baltimore,
Yeah,
and
this will be fun.
yeah, one of these is going to have to come to a halt. They're both very hot. I believe the Ravens also started off 0-2 and have won 3 in a row. So this is definitely a battle of maybe the hottest teams in the NFL right now, other than the Chiefs.
You think this is going to be the game of the week, like the most interesting, high scoring, close one?
I mean, the Redskins' defense is like laughable, and the Ravens actually have a defense. So
Do they?
definitely more of one than Washington. I don't know, man. Both these teams are so good. This one's super hard to call. Ugh, this is so tough. I guess I'm gonna go with the Ravens just because I guess their roster just has way more experience, and I do think they're better on both sides of the ball. Whereas the Commanders might have like a super, like a pretty good offense right now, but I still think their defense is probably really shaky.
You're taking Baltimore?
Yep, I'm taking Baltimore.
All right, I'm going to take Baltimore too. I thought you were going to take the football team, the Commanders.
No,
Um,
I know better.
yeah, yeah. I gotta say, like, I did not see much of the Commanders game last week. But I did see a few highlights of Jaden Daniels just throwing absolute rainbows into the end zone and hitting the receiver as soon as he got there. It is so impressive. This guy, look, I don't like overreacting in someone's first season, but man, if he keeps this up and it just, he has the attitude and the mentality that I think he's just going to keep growing and growing. Even if he doesn't grow and he just keeps this up, he could be the greatest quarterback of all time.
Okay, talk
I'm
about
still
an
taking the
exaggeration.
Ravens. I still think there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for the Commanders, just because they've had a couple really good games. Doesn't mean I think they're going to keep it up, but I hope they do. I'm going to be rooting for the Commanders all the way in this one.
You're just not going to pick them.
Not for this one. I think they're going to. I think they're going to actually fall apart and lose by a lot here. But I think that by week 9, week 10, they're going to have it all together.
Maybe. Next up, we got the Cardinals going to Green Bay, and
Hmm.
I think this might also be kind of a close game. Not because I think the Cardinals are super good, but just because I don't think the Packers are playing as well as they did last season. Yeah, this one's tough. I feel like Jordan Love's like second or third game back from injury. He might do better. I think I'm
Do
gonna go
you
with the
believe in
Packers.
Kyler? You don't
Yeah.
believe in Kyler.
No, I think the Packers have been more consistent.
No one ever believes in Kyler.
Well, until he
Um,
puts together like one good campaign, I'm gonna keep trashing him.
you talk about the Cardinals having a very high ceiling and a very low floor, and I agree with you. I don't think Green Bay has a very high ceiling. And for that reason, I think that Cardinals, feeling hot right now, are going to play near their best and beat Green Bay this week. I'm taking the Cards.
All right, all right. Next up, we've got the Texans at the Patriots, and it's hard to imagine in any universe where the Patriots could muster enough of an offensive showing to topple the Texans in this. Even if the Texans don't have a good defense, that really either.
I'll give you 5 points on the Patriots if you want to take them.
No, I definitely gotta take the Texans, man.
Yeah, I'm taking the Texans too. I think they got back on track with that win against the Bills. And Patriots, for as good as they looked in the first 2 games of the season, do not seem like they're going to be competitive. Although they will be competitive with the Jets.
The Jets already beat them. Play
They're
again,
going
I
to play
guess.
again, though. They're going to play
Yeah.
again.
Next up, we've got Tampa going to New Orleans, and from what I heard, they already are in New Orleans because of the hurricane, actually. And yeah, this should be a close game too. I guess the Saints are like imploding all of a sudden, and I still think the Buccaneers are pretty good. Honestly, both these teams are, I think, right around the same spot. Honestly, probably Tampa is slightly better, but I think
Yeah,
at any given time, both of them could put up a shitload of points.
Yeah, I agree with that, and also both of them could implode.
Yeah.
I feel like Tampa's defense is probably playing better than New Orleans in general.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This is tough. I guess I got to give it to the hotter hand in the Buccaneers. You know, I think they've been a more cohesive unit longer. You know.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the Bucks as well, and the one thing that's keeping me away from that is just the fact that New Orleans is playing at home. Um, I'm gonna go with the Bucks as well, though. I think this is gonna be a very close game.
Yep. Okay, next up, Cleveland goes from Philadelphia or to Philadelphia.
Oh,
Eagles are just came back from bye this week. They're getting AJ Brown and Devontae Smith back from concussion and other injuries. So this should be a massive, massive bounce back game from the Eagles. And even if both those players will still hurt, and they're both very talented receivers, I think I'd still give it to the Eagles just because Saquon Barkley has been a beast this season. You know.
oh, my Schadenfreude is going to eat in that game. I hope I get to see that one. But anyway, yeah, easy pick for the Philadelphia Eagles. And although this won't be my prop bet this week, it's a little bit too easy. I'm going to make an additional prediction that Deshaun Watson will find himself on the ground at least 5 times after he holds the ball for way too long, takes one step back, tries to tuck it, and then just falls down.
Oh, five knockdowns. That happens almost every game to like both
Five
quarterbacks.
five actual sacks.
Oh, 5 sacks. Okay, that's more
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Why don't you just make your prop back and make it 7 sacks?
I've got another prop bet in mind.
All right, all right. Next up, we've got the Colts going to Tennessee against the Titans. Both these teams are pretty mediocre, but at the same time, one of them has to win, as you are fond of saying against the Chip Bowl games. Yeah, shit. I feel like the Titans are almost an anomaly. I feel like they're one of the teams that I know the least about. I just know they underperform. So even if it's Joe Flacco or Anthony Richardson, I'm saying there's just more talent on the Colts. So I got to go with the Colts, I guess.
Yeah, Spears isn't mad. They're really lacking from the absence of Henry. I've got to go with the Colts as well. As much as I make fun of Joe Flacco and the so-called elite quarterback, uh, you know, uh, talking points from many years ago, I do think he's still fairly good. And yeah, Indy has a lot of weapons. Got an adequate defense. Good field goal
Mm.
kicker. Um,
I'm
they can
declaring
score.
this game. This is Shit Bowl 6.
I really feel like both of those teams are mediocre more than toilet bowl dwellers.
Well, it's the closest one we have. Because I think the Bears are way better than the Jags. So that would be the other closest contender, I think.
I don't want to make fun of you and say Atlanta, Carolina, but you're probably right.
So you got the Colts too?
I got the Colts in this one.
All right, next up, got the Chargers going to Denver. Both these teams, Broncos are red hot right now. Chargers a bit more of a question mark. I'm not exactly sure where they stand. I know they were on bye last week, but that Broncos defense has just been flaming, flaming hot. It's like the number two, one or two fantasy defense right now. And I don't think the Broncos offense is really legit, even if they've won 3-0, but I'm still giving it to the Broncos because I just think the Chargers are a mess.
In 4 games this season, I'm looking at it now. The Chargers only have 70 points, and they've only allowed 50 points in 4 games, which is pretty impressive.
You know, Broncos are probably only
Um,
allowed like 5 points.
I don't. Nah, Broncos. Broncos allow like 50 points every game.
That ain't true this season.
Ah, so you got the Broncos, right?
Yep, definitely.
I
And
don't
you
know what
you
to make
called
them
against the
either.
Broncos last week.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of the Chargers either, but I am gonna take the lighty bulbs in this one. I think that any team that can go 4 games and only give up 50 points is worth a flyer against a team like Denver.
If you say so. All right, next we've got Pittsburgh going to Las Vegas against the Raiders. And Steelers could have easily won that game against the Cowboys. And then the Raiders
But they didn't.
also got blown out against the Broncos last week.
The NFL actually admitted in that game that they made just a really bad call and screwed the Steelers out of the win, or at least an opportunity to win.
I haven't heard that. Do you happen to remember which call that was?
I don't remember which call. I think it was some type of maybe roughing call in the fourth. It's
Oh
something that I
yeah,
think gave the Cowboys basically a continuation of their drive.
that's the only way we can sustain a drive this season. Damn it! But truth be told, man, there's like 10 non-calls like every game. You know, doesn't really matter what team it is.
Sorry. That happened in week four. That happened in week four of the NFL. It wasn't against the Cowboys. It was against the.
Colts.
It was against Indy. Yeah, they
Yeah,
lost to Indy, right?
yeah.
Yeah, there was a really bad call on that. I forget exactly what it was, but it was just a rare admission for the NFL. So yeah, like Pittsburgh is good enough to win any of these games, and they've still got a decent record, even having lost the last two.
Who do you like for this game?
I still think the Raiders are a little bit underrated, but I definitely am going to take the Steelers, even on the road.
Yep, me too.
All right, cool.
Next up, we've got the somewhat hot Falcons going against the dumpster diving Panthers in Carolina. And I'm definitely going with the hottest of hot hands after that 500-yard game with the Falcons. I cannot count against my boy Kirk. Panthers' defense is wretched, and the Falcons are putting it all together.
Yeah, Carolina's defense is horrible. This will be interesting in that it's like a matchup of two overlooked and kind of old. Sorry, Kirk. Veteran quarterbacks that have switched teams a bunch. And so I like both of them, and I think that they both bring a lot to their team. I think just for the defense, Atlanta's got this as well.
Yep. And then next up, we've got Detroit coming to Texas against the Cowboys. And
Dare
man,
you pick against your team again?
it just breaks my heart because, man, the Cowboys were like an elite defense for like 3 years in a row. And then Dan Quinn leaves, and now our defense is like a complete fucking joke. And to be honest, that's not even the only problem. It's like their line's a joke. They can't run. Dak's like regressed. I mean, the whole thing is just a collapse. The idea that they're 3-2 is a fucking miracle. They could easily be 0-5. They could barely beat the Giants. Yeah, they dumpstered the Browns in week 1, but man, they could easily be 0-5. I mean,
Don't worry, you'll find a way to finish that way.
I've looked at their schedule intently. I think
Uh-huh.
they'd be lucky to win 2 of the next 10 games. You know,
Woo! You want to make that your prop bet?
it's. I mean, they have their schedule is absolutely brutal. They have to play against almost every team that made the playoffs last year. I'm sorry, but yeah, I think the Lions are just going to march right into Texas and they're going to steal the Cowboys' lunch money.
Do you get to play against Cincinnati this season?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that'll be a get right game. Um, the Lions are a good team. Cowboys are also a good team. I
They're
mean, I
not
know that
good.
you don't think so, but I do.
They're wildly worse than they've been the last 3 years. Wildly worse.
You're doing the sales job. I came into this thinking I would probably take the Cowboys at home. Um,
The home magic is gone, man.
I mean, you look at the personnel. What's really missing from last year?
It's not even about that. Everyone is regressed, and yeah, they're missing some. They have some key injuries too, but all of their alleged playmakers are still fine. They just,
Everyone
I
has
don't know.
bad games, right? Like, there were periods where, everybody who thought they knew football was like, oh, look, Patrick Mahomes is terrible. He missed like 4 passes in a row, while 3 of them were just bouncing off of
This
the receiver's
isn't
hands.
just a bad game. They've had like 4 bad games in a row, and they've just
I
looked
know.
absolutely pedestrian. And the
We break
Cowboys,
into funk sometimes as a team.
Cowboys almost never lose twice in a row since like Dak has been there. And man, they're horrible. They should not be 3-2. Their record is very deceitful. I love the Cowboys, but if you love them, you also got to be their greatest critic, you know. And I have to go with the Lions. I think their offense is just going to run circles around the Cowboys.
As
Maybe
we
the
speak, Jerry Jones is putting a hit on you.
okay. Well, I think there's probably still some Cowboys magic in the tank where they'll like to be competitive, like in the second half somehow. Even though they probably get blown out in the first half and have to play catch up, but
All
somehow
right, all
it'll.
right. You did a good sales job. I'll take Detroit.
Okay. I mean, you were right last week. I mean, it was an ugly win, and they were losing the whole game basically, but they did
All
win.
looks the same in the win column, my friend.
Yeah. All right, for Sunday night, we've got the Bengals playing against the Giants, and I don't care if the Giants whoop the Seahawks. I'm saying the Giants are still fraudsters, and the Bengals have looked good in every loss they've had. 1-4. It's like the opposite of the Cowboys. Bengals are way better. They're the best 1-4 team there ever was, probably. Yeah, so I'm
Uh,
definitely giving this to the Bengals. It's not their fault they put up 30 points a game and still lose, Too much. Defense has to show up, man.
you know what, man? Cincinnati's offense may be good. They are not the best 1-4 team you've ever seen. They might be the best 1-4 offense you've seen. There've probably been iterations of the post greatest show on turf Rams offense that also put up as many yards and points as Cincinnati is now under Mike Martz, and probably had a couple seasons where they started like 1-4. But here's the thing, man. Cincinnati has the most wretched defense I've ever seen. You thought that the Commanders' defense was bad? At least they could stop Cincinnati once in their game. New York Giants, suddenly not so bad. Daniel Jones playing a little bit better. Everybody kind of just making moves around him. They're not actually hurting as much as you would think from the loss of Saquon Barkley. I know this sounds crazy. And I know that, it's not smart of me to do this based on the odds. But based on how wretched Cincinnati's offense has been, and the fact that the Giants can only put up points against bad defenses, I think I just said how wretched their offense has been, how wretched Cincinnati's defense has been.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to take the surprise pick of the week, New York Giants. Lock it in.
All right. Next season, I'd offer you to get 2 points for that, and then -2 if the Bengals won. But we'll wait for next season because
That
that's
would
such a
almost
crazy
be.
pick.
I mean, that's even less enticing to have to lose 2 points for the spicy pick. Then I would just take the Bengals.
So you're going with the Giants?
Yeah.
Okay. Then in our final game on Monday night, we have the struggling Bills against the also struggling Jets at New York. And this might actually be surprisingly
Wow.
close, only because the Bills have kind of come down to the Jets' level.
The struggling Bills against the struggling Jets. Look, no matter which side of the political spectrum you're on, that would be like saying the flaws of Obama against the flaws of Trump. I
Okay.
mean, you can look at that 2 different ways, but either way, come on, man. Struggling Bills against the struggling Jets? No. This is the maybe not as great as we thought Bills against the absolute garbage fire Jets who just fired their coach.
Wow. After all it's said and done, there's only one game apart between the two of them.
And by the end of the season, I bet there'll be 6 games apart between the two of them.
Maybe.
This is this is gonna be the biggest blowout of the week. I'm taking Buffalo by 35.
35. They will not by 35 points.
35, right?
They definitely
And
won't win
you're
by.
taking Buffalo as well
Yeah, I have to take Buffalo just because I
because
think
they're
they'll
not the
just.
New York Jets.
Well, I definitely don't think the Bills are going to manage to score anywhere near 30 plus points on the Jets defense. Because I've watched almost every Bills game this season, and their offense has gotten slightly worse every week, and that's a real shame because I have Josh Allen as my fantasy quarterback.
And if they
But
continue to get worse for 50 or 60 weeks, they might be close to being as bad as the Aaron Rodgers-led New York Jets offense.
I don't think the chasm is quite that crazy large. I do think
Sorry,
that.
90 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. I think the Bills will win just because they'll be able to sustain more drives, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it'll be
All
closer
right.
than you think, though. I
Well,
mean,
I mean, I do think it's going to be 35
I
points, so
mean,
it might be closer than that.
would you have guessed that the Vikings and Jets would only have been a one possession game? Not me.
Um, I mean, look, I don't think that people were as down on the Jets before that game as they were after. So, I don't know. I would probably head the Vikes by 10.
But the Bills by 35.
Bills by 35.
Okay. Okay, dog. All right, that does it. And what is our fancy, crazy bullshit for this week?
All right. I think that there's going to be two games going into overtime this week, with one of them ending in a tie.
Oh, that's interesting, I guess.
I think we have a lot of close games in addition to the Buffalo blowout. And I think, I think a couple of them are going to be real interesting. And one of them, maybe the toilet bowl, maybe something like Indianapolis, Tennessee, or Jacksonville, Chicago was going to end up as a tie. That's going to be my pick for the week. You got an
Oh,
interesting prop for me?
mine tend to be more like statistic based, but I'm going to say
Huh?
Broncos defense gets 10 sacks and at least 10
Oh
tackles
my
for a
God.
loss.
Wait, 10 sacks and 10 tackles for loss?
10 or more tackles for a loss, but 10 sacks. Not
You know what?
exactly
I'm just
10,
going to give
10 or
you
more.
10 sacks plus TFLs. I'm just going to let all of them count because that's still a crazy bet.
So, it only has to be 5 of each.
If you get 5 of each, I'll give it to
Oh,
you.
that's not even that isn't near as crazy as what I
Okay, you
said.
don't want it? You want 10 sacks?
I'm gonna say it's supposed to be crazy, so 10 or more sacks and 10 or more tackles for a loss.
Oh my God. They're going to have to you're going to have to pull people like out of the turf.
Bro, I've looked at their stats every week. They're absolutely monsters. They already have like 30 sacks or something.
Have they gotten close to 10 in any game?
No, because it's crazy.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate the craziness of your prop bet. And yeah, we've got several games we differ on this week. Maybe one of us will pull way ahead, or completely reverse the gap.
Or fall even further behind.
What game are you looking forward to the most this week?
Well, it's too far in the future for me to look up and see what I get in my area. All I know for sure is I'll get Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday
Always the
night,
Dallas game. Yeah.
yeah, and the Cowboys. I mean, I'd love to see the Ravens and the Redskins play. I haven't gotten to see any Washington games this season, actually.
Do you get NFL Network?
I do, but I don't like watching like replays. I like watching games live.
Yeah, it's obviously much more fun when you don't know what's going to happen already in
Exactly, yeah.
sports, which is why like they are like the one. And it's like not only do you not want to know what's going to happen, but if you have any involvement in like sports circles with friends, family, online communities, whatever, you're gonna know what happened
Yeah,
before you
exactly.
actually manage to watch that game over the week.
Yep.
And yeah, that's why like the NFL is just such a great business. It is completely immune to DVRs.
I like my chances though because the Cowboys don't play the morning slot, and the morning slot is usually taken up by one of the Cowboys' divisional rivals. So there's a good chance I'll get the Washington.
I hope you can too. That's going to be an awesome game. I think if I get the chance to see it, that's going to be what I'm going to watch too. If it's an interesting enough game, I'll just tape it on NFL Network and watch it the next day. Because sometimes just the beauty of the game is worth watching, even if you know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I feel like all the magic is in the live. You know.
I feel like it definitely loses something,
Hmm.
but it can still be awesome to to watch something as special as a rookie quarterback just lighting up a team like Baltimore and putting up numbers like the world has never seen before.
All right, that does it for week 6 of our NFL series, and we will see you guys next time.
Take care.